Hey everyone, and welcome back to Don't Open That Door. I'm Justin, and I'm big into oral tradition.
I'm Nico, and I'm Paranorman.
I'm Dan, the friendly neighborhood egg deliverer.
Doesn't it usually go in reverse? I feel like it's supposed to be the other way around, based off of everything I know about anatomy.
Nope.
And we are here today to discuss Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. This was directed by André Øvredal, starring Zoe Colletti as Stella, Michael Garza as Ramon, Gabriel Rush as Augie, Austin Zager as Chuck, and Natalie Ganshorn as Ruth. So we open on Halloween night in 1968 with Stella and her two friends, Augie and Chuck. The trio execute a successful prank on some bullies and subsequently flee. Now, they happen upon Ramon, a young man living out of his car. Together, the group escape the local bullies and go to a haunted house because it's Halloween night. They want to have some fun. The house belonged to Sarah Bellows, a young woman who was accused of witchcraft and blamed for the disappearance of numerous children. You see, Sarah would tell scary stories to the local children, in the dark, and Stella actually happens upon her storybook. Now, against all the laws of God and common sense, she decides to take that book home. Ramon tags along and spends the night at Stella's. Now, this sounds like a setup for nothing bad to happen, but Nico, I trust you'll take it from here.
I will. Can't make any promises on the bad things happening or not, though. But at this point, no, it's pretty much just bad things. Sorry. The book begins to write a story about one of the local bullies, and it enacts it in real life, kind of like a more detailed Death Note in a way, causing him to turn into a Scarecrow. Stella is perturbed by this turn of events, like a regular person should be, and they continue causing Augie to be kidnapped by some monstrosity from the same storybook. At this point, the group decides to learn more about Sarah and determine that she was actually innocent. Go figure. Unfortunately, though, Chuck is kidnapped, and Stella and Ramon are arrested for trespassing in the local hospital while they were looking for records.
Dan, why don't you go ahead and wrap up this scary story?
So at this point, it's revealed that Ramon is actually a draft dodger, because this takes place back during the Vietnam War kind of era again. And a monstrosity breaks into the jail and attacks him. Stella and Ramon flee to Sarah Bellows' house, where Stella has a conversation with Sarah, telling her that while she was innocent to start with, she has since turned into a monster and needs to stop. So, naturally Sarah stops, on the condition that Stella tells her story to the world, and she then disappears. The movie ends with Ramon accepting his draft papers and leaving for Vietnam. Stella promises to write him every day. Stella sets out with her father and Chuck's sister to try and find her missing friends. The end.
Well, we got a lot to talk about, so let's go ahead and break it down. First off, how does this look, Nico? What are the visuals like?
It looks like it was made really well. I have no qualms, really, even with the way that some of the monsters looked. In fact, I think that was one of the strengths of the film. There is one point where, like we were saying earlier, one of the bullies ends up being turned into a scarecrow, and the aesthetics there and the visuals gave me the only other film I've seen where there was someone who was stuffed with wood like that was Midsummer. So that's just where my brain went to association-wise. So I just thought that was cool that they also did something like that. And honestly, I think it looks pretty good.
From my perspective, I agree with a lot. I liked a lot of the cinematography. I liked a lot of the settings. I thought there were a good balance of dark scenes and also brighter scenes as well. Because this isn't something that I would say is a movie aimed at adults. I think it probably has a lot to do with that kind of younger horror fan age range as well. So I think that's important to look at. In terms of the monsters, I agree with you. I liked a lot of the designs. My only thing was there was one particular monster. It's the one they run into in the hospital. It's just like a fat
long woman.
It's like a fat monster.
Yeah.
And they took a lot of time really zooming in on it, and I thought that was not too flattering to the monster because I liked it
I feel
better.
Like that's the point.
Well, yeah, I know, but I mean, I thought that made it that kind of made it look a little fake-ish. Like, I thought they framed it better when it was kind of like approaching down the hallway and like when it was hugging / eating Chuck. I liked that a lot more. Like there was this one particular shot they had of it, and I was like, I could have done without that.
That's fair.
I got to give special props to the scene where, again, one of the bullies, Tommy, he gets stabbed by a pitchfork and then he gets like full of straw. That was really cool. I thought that was a really cool scene.
Thank you. Like it was fucking sweet, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was actually one of the better use of special effects and whatnot in the movie, and it's right there at the start. So I really dug it. But Dan, your thoughts?
I agree pretty much 100% with you. I'm glad you brought up that sort of fat monster because I had the exact same thought. When the film kind of zoomed in a little bit, it looked CGI. And I think that kind of took me out of that part. I didn't really like that. Like the design of it was really creepy, and I didn't like how it looked, but in a good way.
Right.
Because it looked really creepy and that was well done. But it's just when they zoomed in a couple times, it looked a little fake. Mm-hmm. But other than that, I really liked a lot of the other creatures, and I thought they did a really good job.
All right. Well, since you didn't get to break ground on the looks, maybe you can break ground on the sound. How did this one sound?
I thought it sounded all right. To me, this was another example, as we've talked about sort of in the past, of nothing really stand out in a good way. I thought everything was in its place. The music accentuated the film, but didn't particularly stand out, in my opinion. There was no, glaring errors to me in the audio, but also there wasn't anything that really made me really love it. It just did what it did, and it did it effectively.
Mm-hmm. Nico, how did you feel about that recurring kind of motif of like, you're going to be next or something like that? It's a theme that plays a couple times throughout the film. How'd you feel about that?
I thought it was pretty well done and also kind of funny after the first time, because at that point, our protagonist knows what the song is about, like symbolically and otherwise. And so it feels almost a little bit self-referential and almost like the film is aware that it's playing a joke on her. So personally, I kind of liked how they kept doing that. I thought it was funny.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I actually agree. I agree. Now, was there anything else in the sound design that really grabbed onto you, or do you pretty much agree with what Dan said?
I do agree with what Dan was saying for the most part. I actually did like a couple of the little bits in there. There's just a couple things I picked up on and I really appreciated. There was one part where there was just a really nice articulation of some stringed instruments sliding up the neck, and it sounded just really clear and well recorded. So, and that's a very specific thing to say, but as a guitarist and someone who's listened to a lot of that, it's nice to hear. So I wanted to say just shout outs to your sound people.
Okay. I pretty much agree with what, both of you are saying. So why don't we go ahead now and, as we are wont to do on the podcast, take it from the end. So how do we feel about the ending of this movie? I'm going to lead with something that I didn't like, Ramon. So his story's kind of built up.
Oh, you didn't like him?
Well, no, I liked Ramon quite a bit, but I didn't like how he ended up.
Oh, okay.
In the movie, they kind of talk about how he's afraid to go to war. He's afraid to go to Vietnam. That's kind of a backdrop here. There's the Nixon election also going on in the movie. And there's kind of the whole, we're not going to send our young men to Vietnam to die kind of message being portrayed by some people. Now, Ramon's brother got shipped back from Vietnam, and apparently he had died kind of badly in the war. And that really messed him up on a psychological level, and he didn't want to go. But the movie kind of, I guess, almost leans into the inference that by, facing that monster, he kind of was able to face his fears a little bit, and therefore is maybe not quite as afraid of going to Vietnam. So he goes to fight. Now, the part that I take kind of an issue with is I felt kind of bad. I felt like he was just kind of being written out of the plot, because I really wanted him to go look with Stella. I wanted more of the two of them, because I felt kind of bad because, he was kind of that kid who obviously faced racism, faced a lot of things. And then he finally found kind of a kindred spirit in Stella, as she did with him.
And they had chemistry too. Like the
exactly.
scenes with the two of them are good.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Only for him to just have to disappear, which, again, not really quite disappear because he leaves, but that's like more heartbreak for her. And considering, she already like mysteriously kind of lost her mother, it's just kind of like, damn, did she really deserve that? Did he really deserve that? Why can't Ramon be in the sequel? So, and again, maybe he could be. I don't know. Sequel hadn't happened yet. But that's just my thought. Any general thoughts from you guys just about the ending in general, maybe particularly with how Sarah kind of ended?
See, I agree with what you're saying there, Justin, 100%. I also just think that the way the plot was turning out to be, it just seems kind of jingoistic in a way, too, where it has this, pretty consistent anti-war message going on throughout the film as a theme present in the background just incidentally. And then it ends with, oh, okay, guess this is happening. I guess I'm fine with this. All right, cool. Yep. What are my morals? All right.
All right. Dan, how'd you take it when she basically just asked Sarah very nicely to stop and she did?
Yeah, that was a little weird. I didn't really like the ending as a whole. And I thought that having Sarah just kind of stop. One of the reasons why I didn't like a lot of the ending was just it was too feel goody sort of. And I think that the Sarah ending just felt too good. It was too happy of an ending. And especially at the end, they're Chuck's sister has been put into a mental institute because she had gone crazy from her experience with the story and whatever. And so they got her out and she seems, happy and fine. And hey, we're going to go save our friends. And it was just kind of all right. I mean, I know that I'm not necessarily, our age group isn't really the target audience. I would expect teenagers or something. But still, I kind of wanted a little bit of a darker ending.
I think we are the target audience, actually.
Okay.
Think about when the books came out originally is when we were kids.
So it's funny. I think, Dan, you're inferring that we're maybe too old to be the target audience. I think the opposite. I think we're too young. Because I'd be willing to bet.
Fucking wacky.
Right.
I'd be willing to bet that the real target audience of this is the people who were kind of there for the original run of this back in the 80s, the book, and their kids. It's kind of like that.
Huh. All right.
So I want to know now, Dan, you kind of talked a little bit about it being a little bit feel-goody, and I do agree. I thought with all the monsters and stuff, I thought, for example, Stella was going to have to maybe write her own story, and that might have been a way to end it or something else like that. But regardless, we've got now the movie ending with Stella and her motley crew going to look for the friends. Her dad's driving them in a car. Where the absolute fuck are they going? Because she doesn't even know. She says the mystery's in the book.
Right.
And it's just where are you going? I mean, it's a cool shot. It's a cool moment, but it's I don't know. I thought, Sarah's spell was broken. Now everything should be good again, right? I don't know. Where do you see a sequel going?
I don't really know, but I feel like it's going to go one of two ways. Either turn a little bit more adventure-y and less horror-y, or it's going to be a little bit like Stranger Things-y, how they have to go to the upside down world and, whatever. I feel like maybe there's a separate world where these people were dragged to and they have to go and save them from that different existence, plane of existence or whatever.
Kind of like The Further from Insidious, maybe.
Oh, yeah, that too.
Yeah, I've never seen Stranger Things. I don't watch such lowbrow content.
This has been Justin's hot takes.
Oh.
You feel me, dog? You feel me, dog? No, I'm playing. So, Nico, as the relative child of the podcast, what say you? How do you feel about a sequel?
Are you my parents?
No, fellow kid. Now tell me again, what is sequel?
Yeah, it sure feels like they set one up there at the ending, and I mean, it makes sense because there were multiple releases of the book, so I'm sure there's tons of material they have to use there as, potential inspiration for the next narrative. Because there was only 3 or 4 stories that were showcased in this one. There's way more than that in the back catalog.
I have a incoming newswire, so apparently it is definitely totally confirmed that there is going to be a sequel. It's kind of in a little bit of maybe a holding pattern right now, but I want to know.
Is it stuck in like development hell or something?
I guess that's the feeling I'm getting from our news reporter on the scene, but
Okay, cool.
that is interesting to note that, they are still working on one, so I'd be curious to see where it goes, right? I'd be curious.
Hey, how's our guy on the scene doing? How's his day going?
He's doing pretty well. Last I checked, he seemed to be stuck in the year 2020, but more on this story as we...
Yeah, what's his name, Justin? What's our source's name?
Chris?
No last name, huh?
Justin, you should tell Chris to big up himself.
Oh, yo, it's Chris did. Mr. Redfield gets pretty big, I hear. But I want to know now, Nico, you like to read and leaf through books, right?
Of course.
Now, do they call it leafing through pages because pages are made from wood?
Literally no one calls it leafing but you right now.
No, you leaf through. That's a verb, leaf, to like turn the pages.
Oh, I know, but no one fucking says it.
But
like, you are the last person in probably the past 10 or 15 years to use that phrase, I'm pretty sure.
Okay, well, maybe it's because I'm secretly a neo-noir journalist from the 1920s. But I do want to know, how do you feel, having read these books, how do you feel the movie captured the spirit, of the books? Did the adaptation work?
I think it worked really, really well, honestly. Yes. I remember having a great time with these stories as a kid, even though turns out I learned I was wrong about when they came out. But no, I just had a great time with these. I remember these being as influential to me as some of the R.L. Stine books were back in the day, for me personally. And one of the big things about that was the art. And this really captured the art and this sort of aesthetic of it very well. It was the idea of just, I can't really do it justice on a podcast, I think, without having something to show you. But if you read those books, and it matches the aesthetic well, and that's a good thing.
I heard one more thing from Chris on the scene, that one thing the director did say was they'd be looking to explore more of the art. They would be looking to kind of showcase that more. So
okay, fuck yeah.
Yeah. But Dan, maybe as somebody who hadn't read the books, like the plebeian, low-born scum you really are.
Yeah, I know.
How did this look to you as someone who hadn't partaken of the holy ambrosia?
I thought it looked pretty good. I mean, as well, what do you mean?
I mean, in terms of just like general comparisons to other kind of books made films, do you think this one turned out well, particularly maybe in terms of plot and pacing, or did it seem like there were massive cuts?
Gotcha. I thought the plot and pacing was pretty good. This movie definitely, well, I guess this movie came before Fear Street, I think.
Yeah, this was 2019.
It was.
Yeah. So I guess Fear Street definitely feels like this movie. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but I don't know if this is going to make sense, but it feels like a book turned movie. It just kind of has that vibe to me, and in a good way. I thought it did a good job of, well, I guess I can't say encapsulating the book because I didn't read them, but it felt good like that. I thought the pacing was good. I enjoyed how it incorporated several different stories into this one movie. I like that they didn't spend a whole bunch of time on the backstories of these stories, and they just kind of kept it moving. I enjoyed that, and I thought that it meshed well in their sort of medley of stories. So overall, I kind of liked it.
Okay. And I'm glad you mentioned the stories, because now it's time for us to pick our favorite scary story of these scary stories. So we've got a couple. We've got the Scarecrow joint. I think that was called what? Harold, I believe.
Yeah.
We've got the red spot, which kind of develops into an outbursting of tiny spiders erupting from Chuck's sister's face. We've got the, what do they call him? The Jingly Man or whatever, like
Jangle Man.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That was Ramon's fear. That was like a kind of cut up dude who just kind of like, and the funny thing is he said his brother came back from Vietnam in pieces. So
yeah.
that's why I thought that really encapsulated that fear pretty well. But
didn't think about
there's
that.
you have Stella's one, which is the haunted house, and you've got the big toe for Augie
Mhm.
and Chuck in the red room. Nico, what's your favorite story out of all those stories?
My favorite story is Ruth's story, where she gets this insect bite that she really should have fucking gone to the hospital for. Like, once it was the size of like a tangerine on her face, like I wouldn't just be sitting there like, this is probably fine. Like, go seek medical attention anyway. I really liked that one just because I am one of those depraved motherfuckers who will occasionally watch shit like Dr. Pimple Popper and all that. And I also have a phobia of insects. And the idea of insects coming out of this massive cyst on my face is just fucking horrifying. And when it was happening on screen, I actually was like cringing and holding a blanket closer. Just like, it was repulsive. So that's definitely my favorite.
Hey, bro, look, man, we got to go down Trinidad real quick, because in Trinidad, and again, I think maybe things changed now, but back in the old days, right? Like, if you slept with like your mouth open, a cockroach would crawl inside your mouth, bro. Because like they go into places where it's moist and warm, and inside your mouth is both.
Yummy.
So like they could crawl up inside your
And
mouth.
that only happens in Trinidad.
Has it happened
Doesn't
to you?
happen anywhere
Has
else
it
in
happened
the
to you
world.
here
That's
yet?
it.
I'm not representative of the rest of the world, man.
I'm letting you know. It's a very specific breed of
I'm
cockroach.
not Pitbull. I'm not Mr. Worldwide.
True.
I can't
True.
get
True.
most
True. True.
response.
True.
True.
Dale, Dale,
I've
Dale.
reached out to his agents. They haven't gotten back to
Gotta
me.
give
yet.
the man his props.
Dan, what's your favorite story here?
So my favorite is the Scarecrow one.
Mm-hmm.
I liked the design of the Scarecrow. I liked a lot of the sort of foreshadowing with it, because the first time you see the Scarecrow,
Right.
it looks like a decaying human, kind of, except it's split in half. So you're like, oh no, that can't be a real human. But like the face, and there's like cockroaches in the face and everything. You're like, wait, is that human? So it kind of foreshadows the ending of that story when Tommy turns into a Scarecrow. And then also the Scarecrow's name is Harold.
Right.
And I'm just like, okay, it has a real person name, you know?
Fuck you, Cornman 3000.
Yeah, right. But as we talked about earlier on, I also like the visual aspect of Tommy turning into the Scarecrow.
Right.
But I do want to give a special shout out to the, what did we say, Jingle Man? Was that his name?
Jangle Man.
Yes.
Jingle Man. I just like the design of him, and I think it was cool that he could just like split his body parts. Like the first time you see him, he like falls, like his head falls down the chimney, and then you see like the arms, the legs fall down, and he like assembles himself.
Right.
And then at one point he's trying to like get away from something, and he gets smashed in between like a car and a truck, and he's stuck. And then it just like breaks all the body parts apart to get out, and then reassembles. I thought that was cool.
Right. I feel the same way. there. My personal favorite story was actually the Big Toe story with
Oh yeah.
Augie, because how this man just found a pot of soup, and you know where he fucked up?
He
Wait.
ate it.
He didn't put the soup on the stove, bro.
Oh,
That
that's
should have
true.
been the
Yo,
ultimate
that's
Yeah,
call.
soup's on the stove.
That should have been.
Yo.
That was the ultimate call. Like when
Damn.
Stella hit him up on the walkie-talkie, he should have said, "Yo, soup's on the stove." Nah, this man was a straight savage. Who eats cold soup? Who does that?
I mean, gazpacho.
That was not gazpacho. That was totacho.
I'm just saying, cold soup is a thing. Well, that was a what?
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 All right, then. So what I'm saying is that was definitely something where I was like, yo, why you do that? But then, right, this man come sucking on a big toe, rolling it around in your mouth just so, only to then find that you have a big toe coming out your mouth. And the whole time, Stella's on the phone talking to this dude, not the phone, I'm sorry, the walkie-talkie, talking to this man about, yo, like, this is the story with the big toe. I'm going to keep saying
This
big
is
toe.
Story of a girl.
But listen, and then she's like, yo, you about to hear, like, where's my toe? Right? But it was big eyeball, all kind of thing in this big toe soup. So why would you continue to eat this? What was the motivation? How hungry were you? You must watch your food. And that's what I try and tell people, man. if he had just cooked this and, stir the pot, you would have seen, oh, okay. You're turning your pot. Oh, okay, big toe, eyeball. Like, maybe I shouldn't eat this. But no, you're stripping this. You stupid fool. That's what you get. That's what you get. So that's why I thought that was a good story. I thought it was a warning. Don't be a greedy ass and watch your food before you eat. Sorry. But that was...
That's all facts, though. That's some real shit.
Real talk.
As always, the stance here on DOTD is, aside from, I guess, gazpacho, you can put your soup on the stove. If it's that kind of soup. All right, just remember that. Keep that in the back of your mind. Also, what kind of savage put that kind of container in the fridge, bro? You run the risk of cracking it if you put it straight from the stove.
That was a whole ass fucking Dutch oven.
Yeah, like, why would you do it like that, bro? I know that. Listen, anyways, moving on. I want to talk about tropes, themes, and other things. Now, I just put a real talk on this podcast, so I need Nico or Dan. I need one of y'all to talk about a trope, a theme, or just general things you think this film portrayed well. As they want to talk about the sparkle of youth, maybe?
I was going to talk about the sparkle. No, I'm not going to say it that way. Never mind. The racism.
Oh,
no!
I was going to talk about the racism.
Sparkle of racism.
I was going to say, I was going to talk about that a little bit, but carry on, sir. Carry on.
So yeah, they definitely talk about racism in here. Pretty obviously. Ramon is obviously Hispanic, and this is takes place in the 60s, and racism happened and still does. And there's, it's just sort of the cop who just sort of automatically assumes that Ramon was the bad guy in all these situations because he's Hispanic. Oh, then of course they have some pretty overt racial slurs as well thrown at him quite a bit. So yeah, I mean, it definitely hits racism pretty hard.
All right, Dan playing the racist card once again, a racism card, I should say. Nico, how about you?
Yeah, I'm not going to be playing the racism card.
The sparkling racism card.
Oh God, no. One thing that I really did like was the portrayal of what is protagonist
Stella
name? Stella, yes. The relationship that she has with her father, I really liked that. How he turned into this very caring, understanding, loving, accepting father figure instead of the traditional, dad character in a lot of horror movies, particularly from or based around this era, where they're just... Yeah, well, fuck you, kid, for asking for help and going out in particular, and just like, what? I'm not going to do anything to help out, and just like be terrible. So good change there.
Yeah, and you know what? They actually kind of like hinted at that a little bit, but then they subverted it, because when you see him like passed out in front of the couch, you think he's like a bum or something like that, or whatever else, because they have that scene a million times. But he's actually just that tired because he's been picking up double shifts to try and take care of his daughter. And then also he's like, are you going to go out with your friends tonight? Because it's like Halloween. And he's not like judging her for it. He's just like, hey, are you going to go out with your friends tonight? Like, he's literally just asking. And then he's concerned about her. He's like, hey, could you just come back home, like straight home? I'm worried because there's been like some crazy shit going on in this town. So like, yeah, I agree with you. Seems at least like a generally good dude. So I mess with that. I think for me, one thing that I definitely mess with. Whoa. Why did this just like escape from my head? What the fuck?
No.
These edibles ain't shit. 15 minutes later.
Yep.
Oh, sorry. So one thing that I definitely wanted to point out as well was the bullies in this seem to take note from the Stephen King school of bullying, where you got you got your normal bullies, and then you've got your like switchblade psychopaths. And yo,
that was really funny though. I'm not gonna lie. When he like is stereotyped at the beginning, it was like, oh, you have a switchblade, because there's these like two kids in the back of the dude's car and just being idiots. And he's like, but I really do have a switchblade.
Well, Ramon is also the master of unlocking, because this man,
yeah, right.
This man is able to give him like 3 seconds. He can pick any lock, bro. Just
Nah, bro.
Yeah, didn't he
Stella.
break a master lock with a pen?
it was a switchblade, I think.
Bro, what got me was they get up to this house and it's locked, right? And it was the pen. So like they're like, oh no, the house is locked. We can't get in. And then he like grabs the pen and he picks the lock in like half a second. And then they get in. It's like, all right, cool. And then 2 minutes later, he and Stella go up to another door that has a lock on it. And he pulls out a switchblade. I'm like, first of all, you should have used the switchblade instead of a pen earlier. And then second, Stella grabs the switchblade from him and she picks the lock. And I'm like, God damn, you can pick locks too? Why didn't you do that
No,
before?
yo, they would be beasts at Resident Evil because then they discover the hidden
Yo,
bookshelf.
real talk.
And they're
Yeah.
just like, oh my God. Y'all should have been playing that movie instead.
Yo, in the comments for this post, can y'all help me out with Resident Evil 2? I'm trying to look for the second key piece in the police department so I can unlock the final path.
Oh, shit.
But nah,
Help me out, y'all.
listen though. But these bullies literally like randomly crash their car into somebody's fence. They go and like try and
They didn't give a fuck about it.
they try and like
at all.
start a ruckus. The lead bully just like shows up home drunk, even though he's like still in high school. And literally the mom doesn't give a shit. She's like, why don't you go deliver some eggs? And I was like, yo, what? So, I mean,
The Uzumaki School of Parenting.
yeah. And I was like, yo, like these are some real Stephen King ass bullies right now. So I definitely felt that. But now it's time for the what would you do? So this one's actually pretty easy. So first off, who amongst us here is gonna be, you know, Stella? Who's the author here of the scary stories? Who feels like they've got the spark of writing within them? Who sings
Nico.
creatively?
Oh.
Nico or Justin? I can't write for shit.
All right. So it's gonna be, let's say it's just the three of us. I'm gonna put it on Nico real quick because
Sure.
it's not about to be me. So I feel like, let's say, you know, first off, we're about to go to this haunted house, right?
See, here's the thing, though. While I was watching this, I was thinking, Justin, you're Ramon,
I know we're both brown. Yes,
Yeah.
this is true.
and I'm
But-
Augie. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what's funny? Talking about Augie. The scene where they were like, he was spitting game at everything that moved, bro. It was like,
Yeah.
and Chuck's like, Augie, why don't you fucking calm your stiffy, bro? And I was like, yo. But nah, I definitely feel that. So let's, you know, we're just going to put ourselves in those roles. And, you know, like, let's say we all just rock through to this haunted house because we're there, because someone invited us. Now, obviously, if you see the evil ass book from the suspected witch, are you taking it back to your crib, to your residence?
Hell no.
Hell no.
Absolutely fucking not. DOTD stamp on that. But let's say we were there, you know, maybe with our good friend Clarissa, and she takes the book back to her house. And so I guess it has to be me, resident brown man on campus. So I head back to Clarissa's spot.
BMOC.
Yeah, there you go.
HBIC and the BMOC.
And I'm just like sleeping on her couch and whatnot as I can do. So then, you know what I'm saying, she starts seeing these
Look at you
stories.
subverting a trope.
She starts seeing the stories in the book. And what would you do when the stories start happening to people? Like, let's say they were like, oh no, like it says in the book that, you know, Jeremiah is about to, you know, fall into the well. And then Jeremiah falls into the well and like piranhas eat him or some shit. Like, what would you think? Like, how would you avert it if the book started
Why
spelling
would you
out your
make
name?
a welfare?
Like, what would you do if the book started spelling out your name? What would you do?
I would burn
I-
that shit. And they tried it and it didn't work. But
Yeah.
that's what I would try that too.
You know what I would try doing? I would try writing my own fucking story. Like, it would be like,
Yeah.
and then the thing happened, and I'd be
Oh.
like, but then Justin did a backflip, survived, and walked out like a beast. The end. Like, once you write the end, the story can't continue anymore. It's over.
Oh, facts.
Yeah, that's
That's
writing
a
law.
bro. You did it.
Sacred.
You did it.
Yeah, man.
You beat it. You beat horror.
That's like my solution to fucking sleep it off.
sleep
What
it
was
off.
that? Yeah.
Night of the Demons?
Yeah, Night of the Demons. Like just write the end and you're good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. I guess we have to stamp on that. And lastly, but not leastly, if somebody was disappeared, how would you try and find them? Let's say this is the end. Where would you look for them? What would you do? Would you try and use the book?
I mean, real talk, I would have been left town, so I wouldn't be looking.
Fair. Dan, how about you?
True. I would have asked Sarah Fuck that.
Hey, where are my friends at, by the way? Do you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, you should stop being stupid, stop being evil, and just tell me where my friends are at.
What's your opinion on this election happening right now?
What do you think about Vietnam?
But yeah, all around.
How do you feel about crypto?
Hey, listen, we should get in early now. But, well, good points raised all around, gentlemen. Good points raised all around. But now it's time for the critic review. Where do you guys think this is? High, low, in the middle?
I'm gonna say pretty high.
I say mid high mid.
Toss me a number, Dan. Toss me a number.
I'm gonna say 70.
Nico, how about you?
I'm gonna say 77. Lucky number sevens.
Nico got it spot on. It's 77 from critics
Wow.
Hey.
on Rotten Tomatoes. 1 in 100, and we've got more than 100 episodes. So you were statistically bound to get it at some point.
Wow.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah, so 77.
Small victories, baby.
Audience score trailing right behind it is 72. So why don't you guys go ahead, break it down for me, tell me maybe your favorite scene, what you thought about the movie, and what you're going to give it. So who wants to take the first step forward?
I'll go ahead.
Go for it.
I had a much better time with this than I thought I was going to. I was so worried that this was just going to be awful, like a lot of other remakes of things can tend to be, but I was really pleasantly surprised with this. My favorite scene, it's got to be the scarecrowing scene from the beginning. That was just so well done and truly just a sight to behold. I am gonna give this one an 82.
Okay.
Dan.
I enjoyed it. I thought it was a good movie. However, I found myself thinking it was also kind of average.
Okay.
And there was nothing like really stand out to me. It was just kind of did its thing and did it well, but didn't just blow me away at any point. I thought a lot of it was relatively predictable,
Okay.
but still enjoyable to watch, and I had a good time watching it. So I'm going to give it a 70. And my favorite scene, I'm going to have to go with Nico on this one. It would be the scarecrowing.
Fair play all around. I agree. I thought that this was something that it's made, I think, for people who have a lot of nostalgia for the books, or maybe kids of the people who have a lot of nostalgia for the books. I definitely think we're right kind of in that age range where maybe it lacks a little bit of the luster. And because of that, I kind of am not maybe as enthralled with this as others may be. Despite that, I think it's a very solid movie. I think it's a great entry-level horror. Oftentimes we talk about what's a good starter
honestly.
horror.
That's a good point.
I think this would be
a great starter horror.
I think it's a great starter horror. I liked it a lot. I thought maybe at the end it tailed off a little bit. I did like the film a lot more when the stories were all happening. I thought that was very fun. Lots of fun. So I'm right around where the critics are. Also, I will say, I think the runtime, maybe like 10 minutes, 15 minutes, a little bit too long for me. I thought they could have compressed it down a little bit. But all that to say, I liked the movie. I really did like this one. I would give it a 78. And my favorite scene, come on, son, big toe soup. Less said the better. So, is this one going to get a recommended from us here on the pod?
Definitely, yeah.
Absolutely, I agree. Is this one going to get the golden seal from you guys?
Nah.
No.
Fair play. I don't think so either. So, any last words before we wrap this one up?
The Friday the 13th from 2009 or whatever is a good movie, and anyone who says otherwise is a coward.
Well, maybe we got to watch it so I can be a coward.
Episode coming soon. Maybe.
Well, till then, you can definitely let us know if you like this movie. You can hit us up on social media. We're on Twitter and Instagram at DOTD Horror. We're also on Facebook. Don't open that door. You can also check out this episode and everything we've ever done on our website. That is dotdhorror.com.
All of our crimes and our sins, they're listed there before man and God.
Till then, keep what Nico said in mind. Stay classy. Take care of one another. And as always, dear listener, don't open that door. Bye.